You're good, Kate?
Still saying off air. Are we on air?
Yeah,
Oh, we are?
yeah.
We're rolling?
That's
Okay.
what it tells me. I can double.
Oh, all right. Sorry. Okay. I saw it later. Hi, everyone. So here we are. This is the inaugural episode of Talk Amongst Our Shelves, um, which I keep wanting to call it talking. And Becky, I know you had suggested calling it that. So I don't know what we'll end up on, but Talk Amongst Our
It may
Shelves.
be rechristened at some point.
It may be rechristened. So, oh yeah, I'll try to get the chat up as well so I can see it. But welcome if you have come over. This is not my booktube channel, but it's Becky's page, which she is lending for the purposes of our live show. So, some of you may have seen Becky on an Instagram live we did a little while ago. So, Becky, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself.
I have always loved reading. Before I could read, I would make my parents read me the same Sesame Street books over and over and over and over and over again. And then once I did start reading, around age 5 or 6, I just kind of took off. So yeah, I have always been drawn to mysteries, even as a kid. Like the Cam Jansen series, I think was the first mystery series. Oh, Boxcar Children, Encyclopedia Brown, and then eventually working my way up to Sherlock Holmes and Agatha Christie. And it's only been in the last probably 4 years that I've started visiting classics for my own sake. I read I read snippets of a fair amount of them, like in high school, because my textbook had a lot of snippets. But as I got older, I was like, I need to actually go back and read all of these books in their entirety. So in the last few years, I've found that I really enjoy Gothic Victorian literature, something on a little bit on the darker side, which I never would have expected. I'm such like a happy, perky person, but give me all the dark murder. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, that's a little bit. And then Bethany, you can introduce yourself because you're the new face here.
Woo woo. Hi, I'm Bethany, and I love classics. I think I discovered those before mysteries, even. So, like 14, 15, maybe I started reading Dickens and just fell in love with Victorian literature. And now I'm like, I gotta read all of them because I love them so much. And then, I don't know, it wasn't probably 3 years ago I started with mysteries a little bit more strongly.
Mm-hmm.
Becky and I would read buddy reads, and she got me into Flavia DeLuce and Agatha Christie, Sherlock Holmes. Okay, so Becky, I owe you all of my mystery love. But yeah, and so that's kind of a little bit about me. I like the gothic stuff too. Becky got me into Dracula, which was awesome. I wasn't expecting it to be as dark. I don't know, like it was just really good, but it was like equal amounts of dark and light. Becky could explain it better, but it's
It's
amazing.
great.
So
You should read it.
I know it's on. I know I need to. I've been like scared too, but Becky, you don't do terribly like scary books, do you?
No.
Yeah, and so if you were able to handle Dracula, I think I could. I could
Kate, you and I have a very similar fright level
tolerance.
in that we both enjoy like Alfred Hitchcock, but not
Yeah.
so much the Stephen King.
Yes. Yes.
So
Okay.
that is why I think we'd be able to handle Dracula because you can do Alfred Hitchcock just fine.
I will take it then. So, Bethany, do you want to start us off with what we are currently reading?
sure. So I am currently reading the. Is this the ninth? I don't even
Yes,
know.
yes, it is the ninth book.
Okay, thank you. The ninth in the Flavia DeLuce mysteries. The grave is a fine and private place, and I'm like halfway through. It's really good so far, and hoping to finish that soon. I was kind of hoping to finish it today because it's the 31st. So I was like, oh yeah, if I finish off, the book I'm reading, I'll have a nice clean start for September. But whatever. And then I've been doing A Suitable Boy by Vikram Seth because Kate recommended it a while ago. I don't know how long ago you read that, Kate, but
2 summers ago.
okay. I was gonna say I think it's been a while, but I was just like, ooh, I want to read that because it sounds like a culture I've never like read about or heard about before. So I was like, that sounds really cool, really good, and really interesting. But it's huge, so it's taking me a while. But yeah, that's what I'm currently reading.
Excellent. Okay, so then I will show this one. I'm going to slowly work my way through it. I'm just doing a chapter a day, but it's Shirley by Charlotte Bronte. So this is a much more quiet read than Jane Eyre. So I'm finding it, I'm definitely enjoying it, but it's kind of, I'm slowly falling into the rhythm of reading it. And I really am liking, now I'm in the second volume, there is a fair amount of female friendship, which I started thinking about it, and there's not a whole lot of that in Victorian novels. Yeah, so I am enjoying it, but it's a very quiet, gentle read, which it might get a little bit more tumultuous or romantic with a capital R, so I'm not sure. We will see. So definitely enjoying it, but enjoying taking my time with it. It's not like compelling me to sit and binge like 50 pages at a time. And then the next I'm doing the Cinderella Chronicles is what I'm calling it. So just reading lots of novel retellings. And this is called Bella at Midnight. It is by Diane Stanley, and I am thoroughly enjoying this. This has lots of character development in it, and her mother dies in childbirth when she's born, and so her father is so bereaved that he just sends her away. He doesn't want to see her. So she never knows him. She doesn't even know that she has a father, and he's a knight. And so then when she's older and he remarries and she has a stepmother, I don't know why. I don't know if that's going to be clear. I don't know if we'll find out. But he sends for her to come back. So she's grown up as a peasant and she doesn't know like the normal manners and everything. And she's just expected to just like be happy to be yanked out of her old life and, you know, with these people that she doesn't even know. Who it's a Cinderella story, so they're obviously not the most easy to get along with. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that one. I think it's interesting too. I'll be interested to see how many Cinderella retellings involve magic and how many don't. So far, I don't think there's any magic.
Oh yeah, I like that angle.
Yeah, because it is like, I mean, I guess are there like realistic fairy tale retellings? I don't know, but this definitely feels like. I just read another one that had so much magic and it just felt very like otherworldly, which is fine too. But I'll be interested like as I have a lot more retellings under my belt, which I prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really neat to see all the variety that's out there. And then I was just showing Becky how thick this is. This is the Letters of Elizabeth Gaskell, and I think last Victober, I'm always in denial about how much I'm going to get done Victober. And so I was like, I'm going to read this whole thing. But then it came in the mail and I was like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I can read that and nothing else. So now I've just been enjoying it, picking it up here and there. I told my husband, Dave, too, I said that this is like the closest to Elizabeth Gaskell having social media. So like her Twitter, or her blog, yeah. So
probably more blog because they're probably much
lengthier. Yes.
Longer.
Yes. So those are my currently reading. And Becky, do you want to talk about what you're currently reading?
Sure. So I have to apologize to Bethany. I've had a very busy week. So today I finally finished Mary Stuart's The Rose Cottage, which Bethany and I were a buddy reading, and she finished several days ago.
It happens.
But it is Friday, and it is the weekend, so I'm counting this as part of my weekend reads. yeah, a woman goes back to, so there had been like a larger manor, and a woman comes from a family of more like domestics, but they'd lived on a cottage on the property, and World War II has happened, and she ends up going back to the cottage, and interesting things happen. So just finished that, and I really enjoyed it, and actually all my Mary stickers are right here, so.
Oh, those are all of them?
I can
So fun to see them lined
put
up.
it back.
You liked it. You liked Rose Cottage.
I did really enjoy it. I haven't had a chance to update my Goodreads, but I'm going to give it 4 stars because I did really enjoy it. And
You
then,
enjoyed it. Sorry, Bethany, you enjoyed Rose Cottage?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
I like thought it felt like a cup of tea, like a warm cup of tea. It was just cozy, and I don't know, just everything about it just ended up in a like nice happy bow, and I don't know. That's what I
yeah,
felt.
it was a good read it was a good summer read.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
I was glad that we chose to read it in August.
Yes.
And then I am currently reading, I have probably 75 pages left in Northanger Abbey.
Is this your first time?
Yes. Okay. So the only Jane Austen I have ever read is Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, wow.
So
so exciting.
I have been procrastinating on Jane Austen. I have a feeling I'm going to be slightly more on the Bronte side, but so that's why I chose Northanger Abbey, because I know it had some slight satire, like references to more sensational novels.
Yeah.
So all the conversations that Catherine and I forget if it's Isabella or Isabella have, I'm really enjoying. But my goodness, it takes a long time to get to Northanger Abbey. They like just pulled up in front of the house, and I'm like, I only have 100 pages left. Like, something must happen for the book to be entitled this. So anyway,
That's funny.
I'm really excited. I don't know. I'm really excited to read it, and it is one of her shorter ones. So I figured it would be a good. Okay, I did Pride and Prejudice. I'll read this one, and then I'll decide. I do also have Emma. I don't know when I'll get around to reading it, but that will probably end up being my next Jane Austen. So this is my main thing for the weekend. I'm currently listening to the audiobook for The Book Thief.
Oh, wow.
Which has been on my TBR for a while. I was very far down on the list of goals. And it finally came in, and it's kind of long, so but I'm really enjoying it. I am probably about halfway through, and I'm feeling very invested in the character and in the story. And I plan to do fall cleaning and a lot of other projects this weekend, so I probably won't have much time to sit down and read a book, but I'm hoping I will be able to get in some decent audiobook time. And then, if I have additional time, I will be rereading Hillbilly Elegy for my book group.
Oh, so you have a real life book group?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And so do you always read nonfiction, or do you just kind of switch each month?
We rotate. So normally what we read, we try to read things that are a little heavier. So whether it is a more thought-provoking, symbolic, or influential novel, or an important piece of nonfiction. So I'm trying to think of what we've done in the past. We've done, oh gosh, we took a little break for the summer, so I'm trying to remember what we read. We read Blink, which is a nonfiction book about decision making.
Oh.
That I really enjoyed. We're reading Hillbilly Elegy for September, which was a bestseller a couple years ago. I had already read it, but there was one person in our group that had read it but wanted to read it again to discuss it with people. And there are just a lot of, it's a little hard to explain without going too far into the book, but it's a memoir. And the protagonist is from a lower income family in more rural flyover United States, but ends up getting a law degree from an Ivy League school. So kind of wrestling on the East Coast. So kind of wrestling through the different cultures in America. And kind of differences in class and background and benefits and how people can. I'm more interested because I feel like people often misunderstand each other, but that's a whole other whatever. Anyway, I read it before. I really enjoyed it, but I'm rereading it for book group. But book group doesn't meet in 2 weeks, and since I read it before, and I remember reading it very quickly the first time I read it, so it's not super urgent that I start it this weekend. But
Okay.
I might start it because I don't like procrastinating.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. Yeah, my book club is reading The Picture of Dorian Gray this month. And they're meeting the 14th, and I'm already like antsy that I don't have it finished because I guess I want to like have discussion questions and everything.
Okay.
But it's also kind of terrifying because apparently an Oscar Wilde expert is going to be at book club.
That's actually really exciting because then you can learn from them.
I hope so. I'm just worried I'm gonna look real dumb. So we'll see. Like, yeah, we'll just see how it goes.
You'll be fine.
I think so. I hope so. Maybe
All you have to do is talk about one section of the book you feel confident about, and you'll sound like.
True. That's true. I want to get like spark notes on it.
After I read the book, I will go back and I will look at spark notes to see it, and then I'm always surprised at like, oh yeah, I picked up on that theme. Oh yeah, I understood that. The confidence.
I am actually pretty smart. So we were. Did you see my friends Constantine and Nadia, or Kostya and Nadia? They came over for supper tonight, and I forgot about the live show until like I don't know, a couple days ago. And so I messaged Nadia and I said, "I'm really sorry. Can we be done with our get together at 8?" And I had just told her about my channel, and so now they're watching. Hi guys.
Hi.
Enjoying. Nadia actually. Well, she didn't want to give any spoilers to The Picture of Dorian Gray, but she is looking forward to discussing it with me after I finish it.
Ooh, is this your first time reading it?
Yes, I'm going in totally blind. I know nothing about it.
I've never read it, and I know nothing about it either.
Okay, yeah. I mean, except everyone dies at the end, right?
I don't even know that much. Couldn't tell
I was
you.
about to do a Harry Potter spoiler as a joke, but I will be considerate.
Don't.
I heard Kate, I'm not going to use names, but Katie from Life Between Words said that she saw somebody had a bumper sticker on their car that said blank kills blank. And it was like from the 7th book.
That's cruel.
Yeah, or the end of the 6th book.
That,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, okay, so the next thing we wanted to do was to talk about some classics that we differ on. And the first one is Great Expectations. So since Becky and I are super chatty, maybe Bethany, you could give, I can't remember if you're pro or con, so you can give your reasons for or against Great Expectations.
Okay, so shockingly, I'm going to be against it. I love Dickens, and it's so wrong that I'm against it, but the first time I read this, I'm like, okay, I don't like any of these characters. I don't know. I just felt like Pip was going through the entire book constantly getting disappointed, and my poor little teenage heart couldn't take it. And I was just like, everything that he did, I like just didn't agree with. And I loved the writing. I loved the characters. I like the way that they were portrayed. They were done well, but I didn't love them as a character, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know, you want to get behind a character and be like, oh, yeah, I'm rooting for this character. I want this protagonist to, like, really do great. And I felt like we were just cut off at the knees with Pip. I'm just like, what? When's his life going to get better? So, I don't know. I don't want to give any spoilers away because I don't think we're doing spoilers. But
I think you're right. It's good not to do spoilers. That's I think that was all safe, everything you said.
I'm hoping. I'm like, did I say no? I think we're good. I mean, some people might have liked the ending. I didn't, but I don't want to give spoilers away.
My ABC. That's for you, Mom. For you to see.
Okay, so then Becky, do you want to? You're also against you.
Yeah. So, but it's actually for slightly different reasons than Bethany. So, I am a terrible person, but I have finally decided to admit that, with the exception of A Christmas Carol, I just do not enjoy Charles Dickens. And I know maybe I need to but I've read 2 of his books. I gave him a fair shot. Maybe I need to try a third. Maybe the third one will be the charm.
Dombey and Son. Dombey and Son.
Which 2 did you try?
I tried Great Expectations. Bethany's like, wait, she must have gotten a bad one. Great Expectations and A Tale of Two Cities.
No.
Ooh, yeah.
Here's the bad ones? Okay.
Tale of Two Cities is awful.
It is terrible.
He does not do historical fiction well. It was
Well-
the French Revolution was like it was like the thing. It was such a huge deal. So I get that he wanted to like tackle it and take it on, but it's even Katie from Books and Things is like, it's really not his best.
Okay. Well, I feel a little bit better knowing that.
Yes.
And I will just say, generally, I don't enjoy reading about the French Revolution, so I don't know why I picked A Tale of Two Cities. Actually, I know why. This is also embarrassing to me. It's because I saw The Wishbone as a kid, and therefore I felt as though I needed to read the entire book. That is why. Yeah, so Great Expectations. So I had to read a few chapters of Great Expectations in high school.
You
Huh?
got to read a few. You got to read a few chapters. Not you had to.
I had the privilege of reading a few chapters of Great Expectations in high school. And I remember really enjoying the few chapters that I read. But it might not have even been high school. It might have been middle school, because I remember thinking that the entire book would have been very intimidating. But we had Great Illustrated Classics. So I read the Great Illustrated Classics version, which was mistake number 1.
Yeah.
So finally, I'm an adult in my 20s, and I'm like, Great Illustrated Classics doesn't count. I need to go back and read the whole thing. And I remembered really enjoying those first few chapters that I read. The first few chapters that I had read were where Pip meets Miss Havisham, very early on in the story. I love Miss Havisham's character. I know, right? I mean, Bethany's like, what? No, I loved it.
But she's fascinating.
She's fascinating. I don't necessarily love what she stands for, but I love the way that he created her. I found the rest of the book way too long. And here's why. I felt as though it took too long to get from point A to point B. I have read other books where I've read abridged versions or I know the ending, but I think if you have a really good story or you're a good storyteller, even if you know the ending, the book can be very enjoyable. I actually had that situation recently where I knew how a book ended, but I read the whole thing, and that book is like now one that I really, really, really enjoy, because there was a lot in the middle and the way that the plot came up. But I just remember sitting there reading it like, okay, I know what happens. When's it gonna get interesting? And my problem, and this is, I know we're talking about Great Expectations, but my problem with A Tale of Two Cities is I just felt as though there were too many characters. And I understand that Dickens wrote in a very serialized way.
Right.
I know a lot of chapters were published and then later the novels came out. So it could be that I'm not reading Dickens correctly and that I'm trying to read too much in one sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Where if I'm reading it more in a vignette style and I'm taking longer to read it, maybe I would enjoy it. But and I enjoy quirky characters, but I can only take so many before it just starts kind of jumping the shark for me. And I think there were enough like kind of quirky characters in Great Expectations that I just started checking out. So there's my blasphemous opinion.
All right, I have heard all of your points, and I will address them one by one. No, not one by one. Okay. I do hear, it's very interesting to me. I hear a lot of people who don't like Great Expectations talk about like how long it was. But it is actually, I think it's because they don't enjoy it, and so it feels extra long. But it's not. It's one of his really shorter ones. It's around like 450 pages, I think. And as opposed to like Dombey and Son is like 800, Little Dorrit is like 800, Bleak House is like 900, David Copperfield is like 900. So I think maybe it feels long. But also, I guess I am surprised, Becky, since you like really like Gothic, but I guess not his take on Gothic.
I really enjoyed the first few chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I enjoy Miss Havisham, and then I lost, and then after I got through the first quarter or third of the book, I totally lost interest. And I just felt as though things, yeah, the plot moves along, but it didn't move along in a way that I found interesting enough, I guess.
I guess what I really love about it is I think it stands out a lot from his other books. Like, I kind of think Oliver Twist, Nicholas Nickleby, David Copperfield, and Martin Chuzzlewit don't have that different of plots. Whereas it's like, the poor, penniless, person trying to make their way. And so I feel like Great Expectations takes that and then like turns it on its head compared to the other novels. And I love the mystery of who the benefactor is. That to me, like, that did keep me reading because I was really, really wondering. I like that in this, as opposed to in many of his books where the women are like angelic. I like that there's Miss Havisham, who's crazy. I mean, she's like a crazy lady. I just think it's just, I love the really memorable elements about me. So the fact that this woman was jilted, when she was super young and has like never gotten over it and is still like in the wedding dress. I just love that. I love how it opens up with the interaction with the convict. And what else was I going to say about it? Well, and then another female character who's really different is Estella. So I guess I just enjoyed that they were it just felt super different from the rest of his books. And I really loved the mystery of who the benefactor was. I don't know why it kept me like reading so much, but it was also only my second Dickens to read.
Okay.
So the first one I read was Oliver Twist, so it's not hard to like go up after that. Even though I'm still very fond of Oliver Twist because it was like my first.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I just loved how like gripping and capital R romantic. I mean, I love Victorian novels. So I guess those to me maybe outweighed. I did the audiobook also.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of anything else about it that was like particularly.
It's interesting that the mystery element is what kept you reading, because that is what made me want to give up on the book. Partially because I did know how it ended. Mm-hmm. But I felt, instead of being like, ooh, I wonder how all the pieces will fit together, even though I know the ending, I didn't get that feeling when I read. Because I still feel like there are mysteries or books with twists that are very rereadable just because the story is good or the plot is really good. And for some reason, even though I'd only read an abridged version, it just did not have a rereadable quality for me.
You just didn't feel that pull?
Not at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very weird. Some books just strike people as like ones they want to continue with.
Yep. And hey, I read Count of Monte Cristo, and I know that you started it and it was not for you, so that's okay.
It's because, like, I feel like there are some stories that can have, like, the adventure be plot heavy, and let's put the cherry on top of character development.
You didn't get far enough in the book, but it's a really long book. So if you're not if you're not if you're not enjoying it by page 100, like, don't keep going.
I did the annoying thing. I just decided 200 pages in. I was like, this is a boy book.
That's fine.
Trying to think if there's anything else to be said about Great Expectations.
Did you know there were 2 endings?
Yes, and we don't want to give spoilers, so
right. I just was curious.
I did not know this.
I could never remember which ending was the first ending and which ending was the second ending. Oh wait, no, that's a lie. Second one is yeah, because Becky, apparently, like, people got really, really mad at the first ending that he did. Yeah, there was just too much, like, finality. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
And so then he went and wrote a second ending.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes, yeah. So I'm sure there's somewhere online that you could look at what the other one is.
Perfect. I don't have to read the whole thing.
Okay, so then the next one is Nightingale Wood, which, again, it's less like you guys didn't like this, or I'll just let you talk about it. You can
Bethany, you can go first because you remember more about it than I do.
Okay. I was like, it was an okay book for me. I guess I didn't feel, like, wowed by it, or, like, I don't know, like it was anything really new, a new concept, or I don't know, something that blew my mind. But the characters, I liked Tina, the one sister, a lot. I felt like she was the most three-dimensional of all the characters. I really liked to see her. I don't know, Viola, the main protagonist, just kind of seemed a little bit, I don't know, like she didn't really have a whole lot of ideas or things that she was interested in other than marriage. So it was just kind of like, okay, just following around. The hermit pervert dude in the woods was kind of confusing. I was like, what is his deal? But I don't know. It was entertaining for sure. It was really entertaining. So it just, I don't know. I didn't get a lot of meat out of it, and I like to read a book like that's supposed to be a classic. Like even Great Expectations, I'll give it that. There's a lot to learn from it. There's a good moral at the end or whatever. And this book, I was just like, okay, well, that was entertaining. I didn't feel like I learned a whole lot from it, or that there was much to, like, study, I guess.
Well, Becky, did you want to say?
You can go first.
Okay. So it's interesting. Now I'm kind of wondering, ironically, I'm going to use the word expectations, but if part of this is our expectations going in, and I think what I want out of a modern classic, and I read modern classics mostly in the springtime, and I kind of think of them as more frivolous of reads. Now there are the modern classics that are kind of this beautiful marriage between the two, like The Pursuit of Love by Nancy Mitford, which has lots of like quippy little lines and like quirky characters. But it also has some, I mean, because it's based on true events, that's probably a big part of it. It also has some really sad stuff and stuff that, like, this is life, you know, life is full of, like, really big high joys and really low lows. So I think maybe I expect out of a modern classic, I'm like, you can just amuse me. You can just be like P.G. Wodehouse, and I'll be okay with that. I agree. Viola is not the most like inspiring, and the romantic lead is such. He has no backbone, like whatsoever, until maybe at the end.
I didn't even like that. I was like, oh, come on, really?
You could do so much better.
Right?
So Becky, what did you think about it?
Yeah, so like Bethany, it was an okay read for me. Okay, here's part of my problem, and I was a little nervous that this would happen when we suggested this topic. I'm really good at blocking out things I don't enjoy. I'm really good at wiping them from my memory. Like, I'm like Sherlock Holmes, and my brain is like, that serves me no purpose. I'm going to wipe it from my memory. I don't need to know. And I've gotten in trouble because there are movies that I have watched 2 or 3 times because I said I do not like them. People are like, well, why didn't you like it? And I'll be like, I don't remember. Well, you just need to watch it again and then you'll like it. And then I watch it and I'm like, well, that was 2 hours of my life and I still don't like it.
2 hours I could have been reading.
I know, exactly. So I have forgotten part of Nightingale Wood, which is not a good sign because that means I didn't totally enjoy it. I agree with Bethany. I did enjoy some of the minor characters. My main problem was the protagonist. And hear me out. I am okay with reading a novel where you are not supposed to like the protagonist if that's intended. Like,
if it's established, like
if that's established, like, this is not a good person, this is not a good situation, or whatever, I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me. I know some people don't like Wuthering Heights because they don't enjoy many of the characters. I was like, oh, I don't like these people. I get to spend this entire book.
I want to keep reading
and like seeing what these people do, and so I really enjoyed that. My problem with the protagonist was I felt as though I was supposed to like her. But
okay.
But I didn't connect with her.
Yes.
And I'm okay with a lighthearted character. I'm okay with someone that's really quirky. I really enjoy Sophie Kinsella's books, like Confessions of a Shopaholic. The character Becky is just all over the place, and she's quirky, and I love her. But the protagonist, she actually felt like a side character to me. Now that I'm thinking through it. I felt as though she, as Bethany was saying, some of the side characters were more 3-dimensional. Viola felt more 2-dimensional to me, and so I think I had trouble. I kept expecting something to happen within her that never happened, and I don't think was ever supposed to happen, and so I just kind of ended up wondering, why was this book about her and not about one of these other more interesting characters?
I see.
I don't know. I think that's more my take, and you're welcome to argue back on this. I will not be offended.
Well, I think I have 2 thoughts. One is, I wonder if part of why I was okay with her, even though she wasn't the most inspiring, is it's kind of the storyline is a little bit like Cinderella, and it is fairy tale. So I wonder if maybe I kind of like blocked out that she wasn't that interesting. But I did also think of, I know a book where the protagonist just like ruined it for me, and that is Jamaica Inn.
I haven't read it yet. I've heard very mixed things about it.
I like wanted to cry. I was so bored. I could not. I can't even remember her name, which I'm bad with names of books anyway. So that's not really saying like a whole ton. But I even then, because I was supposed to read it for book club, and I was like, just trying to get, giving myself book pep talks like every time before I was going to read it. And you can do this, Kate. It's just a book. It's not that scary. But then I finally was like, no, I'm done. I'm just going to watch the movie of it. I couldn't even make it through the movie. Like, I was just so, yeah. So Jamaica Inn and what's so unfortunate is I really enjoyed My Cousin Rachel and Rebecca. And the last one I tried from her over a year ago was Jamaica Inn, and that has put me off her for a while. I'm on Daphne du Maurier hiatus. So
I really want to read her short stories because Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds is based off of one of her stories.
Yes. Yeah. And I almost think, no, there's not another one.
I think there were a few collections of short stories.
Okay. That would be really fun if Victober didn't like take over October. That would be really fun to read during October.
Yeah.
I've already said Victober like 4 times, and this isn't even the Victober episode.
Okay, we're all excited.
Yes.
Well, that's a good segue, though, into the classic that we all loved, which is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins.
Ooh, beautiful addition, Becky.
Thank you.
Ooh! That is really... My dad has a lot of classics in that kind of edition, and they are so pretty, and they look like they will last through many, many reads.
Yes, it's in Everyman's Library. We've got a few books. We've gotten them all used, but they're bound really well, but they're still like very readable.
Yeah, it's like best of both worlds.
I know. Lovely.
So I'm a very big believer in that. Sometimes it's not the right time for a book.
Absolutely.
And yeah, because I tried it like 2 years ago, and well, it was a terrible audio, like it was a terrible narrator. I think that was maybe part of it, and I was just like so bored. And then I was kind of like, all right, I want to try it, because my friend Lindsay, Becky knows Lindsay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she ended up reading it like one spring break or something, and she just kept telling me like, it's so good, and so I kept wanting to give it another try. And I read it last October, and it was just it did not feel long. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, it just flew by. Was that the same for both of you?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm still like so excited about it as a book. Like, I can't wait to reread it already. Okay, that is a Victorian novel that has female friendship.
It does.
Yes.
Love that. So, Bethany, what was it in particular about it that you loved?
It was so suspenseful. So I was constantly like grabbing this book and like, next page. Like, I gotta know what happens. I went and helped a friend of mine write a speech for a work thing she had to do, and I'm like, I'm so glad you called me because I'm in the middle of this book and it's like giving me heart palpitations because I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I just got so much like angst towards that. I forget the name of the guy who marries
The Percival.
the main person.
Percival.
I got so much like angst against him, and I'm like, okay, is he? Isn't he? Like, what is this guy? I don't know what to believe about him, and I don't know.
Go.
Oh my gosh, yes, him. Oh, although he was kind of funny too in some ways. I don't know, like,
and he seemed like he was like, oh, I don't want to do spoilers, so I don't know.
I know it's hard.
Yeah.
Why did you like this book? No reason. Just I can't give anything away.
And the one part at the end, you were really good.
Yeah.
So I found myself too. You were talking about how you were having heart palpitations, like the moments too at the beginning, right before it's building up, that then you're gonna eventually get letters from Laura. Before like the big event at the beginning happens, I just kept being like, is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? Oh my goodness. Yes. So Becky, what were your like highlights from it?
Okay, so first off, I have to say that I have a funny story about The Woman in White.
Oh, yes.
So in college, my favorite section in the library to study in had a little desk in the stacks, and when you look up, there was this big Heritage Press edition, I looked it up later, of The Woman in White. I knew nothing about this book. It was just an old book, but white was my favorite color in college, and I was always wearing like white sunglasses and white shorts, and so I'd always look at it and be like, Woman in White, I just need to read that book because it has my favorite color in the title. And I'm like the woman that wears white. And then one time, one of my roommates senior year was studying in the library and like was trying to find ways to procrastinate. And so she took a picture of that book and tagged me in it on social media and was like, oh my gosh, I found this book and it's totally Becky in a book because it's a woman in white. But I knew nothing about it. I had never heard of Wilkie Collins before. Like, I knew nothing about it. So, and I was in college, so I didn't have time to read this big book. I had homework to do. So, Kate, I think you read it, and then Bethany read it after your recommendation. And Bethany was like, oh my gosh, you have to read this book. You have to read this book. You have to read this book. And I was like, that's the book I wanted to read in college. So I finally got it, and I was hooked by, like, I was looking it up to see how it started. And the very first line.
So very oddly.
And the very first line is, this is the story of what a woman's patience can endure and what a man's resolution can achieve. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like Bethany said, it's a longer book, but it does not feel long.
Not at all.
And my poor husband, I'd like be reading and then I'd be like, oh my goodness. And I'd be like, honey, let me read this out loud to you. It got to the point where I'd be in like another room and he'd hear me gasp and he'd be like, what is it? Are you okay? And be like, it's just Sir Percival. And he's like, oh, it's Sir Percival. What is up with him? Like, he was able to name the characters because I talked about them so much. I forget. He gave him some nickname too, or I can't remember what he called him. But it wasn't like this wasn't what it was. But it was something like, oh yeah, Sir Percival, like that dastardly man. Ooh, I wonder what like. Yeah.
Oh goodness.
So, and even though, and like you, Kate, there was a part fairly early on in the book that I was not expecting to happen until much later. The one that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, this happened, and there's still like a whole book left.
Yes.
My goodness.
Yes.
So anyway, and even though I know what happens, I definitely feel as though this would hold up in a reread.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Totally. I know, oh, this is so bad. Becky Ford, that's the name, BookTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
She rereads Rebecca every year, and she enjoys it every single year. So I do think that's something that I wonder if you can't get in like modern day suspenseful novels almost, that it's like the delayed gratification with the suspense maybe will stand up to rereads. I feel like it will. I mean, because there's also tons of character development, and in that you could like look back then when you're rereading and say, oh my goodness, like they were saying this, but I think they were meaning this. And like knowing things that you know, and the big reveal in the end about people, I just think will really affect how you go through it again.
Yeah.
I think too, there's something to be said for like the atmosphere when you're reading it. Like you fall in love with a book because you read it at a certain time. It's not necessarily just the book itself, but like the time that you read it, and it's just all those factors coming together, and they make it perfect. And then every time you reread it, you kind of feel like you're there again. And you're feeling like, I know it's that way with me for our mutual friend. I feel like that every time I read it, I'm like, oh, I just love this book. It's not the best written book. It's not the perfect book. It's not even like the best book as far as like plots. But it's just, you fall in love with it. So every time you reread it, you're like, oh, it doesn't matter that I know the mystery. I just love this book so much. And I love going through it again and living with the characters again, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I know I never shut up about it, but that's Wives and Daughters for me. And it was just like, it was a really sweet time. It was like Peter was a teeny little newborn and I could walk around, which he's almost 4 now. And I could walk around the neighborhood and listen to it via audiobook format. You know, when you just have one who's a teeny baby, you can do
Yeah.
that. Unless they don't nap. But anyhow, but they'll ride in the stroller then. Anyhow, so it was just really nice. And it was like spring had come, and because it can be lonely just to be, you know, at home with a little one. So it was just a really sweet time. So I think that definitely helped me to like it more.
Yeah, I've only read it once, but I have very vivid memories of reading To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh.
So that is one that I think timing and location. I read it in a cabin in the middle of nowhere.
Oh.
And I had borrowed it from somebody, so I had a deadline, so I had to get through it kind of quickly. But we were on vacation, so like I had the time to read it. And even though I've only read it once, I already know that if I were to reread it, I would immediately be transported. And if I was in a city, I'd be in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, and it would just be delightful.
Oh, that's awesome. When you do reread it, the audiobook with Sissy Spacek narrating is so good. She just, to me, now is the voice of Scout.
Okay.
It's excellent. Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy now thinking about The Woman in White. And I'm already nostalgic about Victober. Like, oh, that was Victober last year. Yeah. Oh, so good. So good. So yeah, do you guys have any exciting plans this weekend?
Fall cleaning.
How adult of you.
I know. It's because I haven't cleaned in like a month. Which is not very adult of me.
Becky, you should be doing something a little bit more exciting. It was your birthday.
No.
Yeah, Becky.
I will carve out time. I will momentarily not fold my laundry and grab a cup of coffee and read Northanger Abbey tomorrow.
There you go.
That will be. I'm at a weird point too because I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to read after this. I've got my whole Victober reads all lined up.
It's this lag in between.
Yes.
But September's a really weird month. But it's like, well, I want to read some Victorian literature, but I don't want to overdose on Victorian literature before October, so I kind of can't.
Yes.
But I also kind of don't want to read something light and fluffy because I'm thinking of Victober.
You need an in-between.
I do.
Like, what's a good in-between one that we read recently? The 13th Tale? Something like that would be probably perfect.
Yeah.
But I don't know anything like that.
The Watchmaker of apparently.
What'd you say, Kate?
The Watchmaker of Filigree Street. Katie from Books and Things talked about that.
Okay. I don't think I've heard of that one. I did think about doing Rebecca because I have not read that one yet.
Yeah.
But it was written in the 30s, so it's much too late for Victober.
It'll still be great. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Well, mysteries. Or you could read a Susanna Kearsley.
Oh. I can't remember what she's written. Why am I drawing out? I can picture, like, the font.
The Rose Garden.
Say that again?
The Rose Garden. That's the one that I kept talking about.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Well, yeah. But you are at the end of September. You're rereading Wuthering Heights.
Yes. And that's the other thing, is I've got my stuff planned like the end of September. It's just the next 2 weeks. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to read. But you know what? I'm sure something will pop up. And I am really enjoying The Book Thief. And it's a longer audiobook. So.
Yes.
Love that book.
I have not read it.
Oh, it's so good. It is so good.
Yeah. So far, everyone I've talked to that has read it has raved about it, which usually makes me nervous, but they're all people whose opinions I value and trust. So
you shouldn't be nervous then.
No.
You should be like, okay, this is going to be a great book. Don't overhype it for yourself, but just read it and be like, okay, I'm going to fall in love with this, and It'll be great.
It'll be a new favorite. And that's all there is to it.
Maybe.
She's like, maybe.
So I am watching very, very cheesy in the Cinderella Chronicles. The next movie I got is Cinderfella with Jerry, with your face says it all, Bethany, with Jerry Lewis. And it's from 1960, and he lives with his really mean stepbrothers. And he wants to go to the ball and meet Princess Charming. So I can't wait. I can't wait. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
So delightful.
Yes.
I drive my husband crazy because I like my media, like movies, books, music, really good or really cheesy. There's like no in between.
So what's like the cheesiest?
Like Annette Funicello beach movies.
Oh.
We got a wide range here, people.
Or like 1950s B sci-fi movies, like cringeworthy, cheesy. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Monty
Yeah.
Python.
I love Monty Python.
Yes. Oh, good.
I did just see though on Amazon Prime, season 2 of Victoria is up now. Which I got behind when it was coming out because Arthur was a newborn. And I was like, I'm too sleepy to watch this episode. And then by the time I tried to watch it again, it had expired.
Oh.
So, yeah. So
Did you watch The Crown, Kate?
I have made the weirdest resolution about The Crown. I'm going to wait until all 6 seasons are up. And then I'm going to go through. And I don't know what, I just decided this. It was like, it's like as soon as I heard they were doing 6 seasons, I was like, I'm just going to wait till they're all up. I just decided it. So I'm very excited for it. But I'm really biding my time with it.
I had a hard time getting into Victoria after watching The Crown. Because they're very different. I don't know. They're very different. Like you're kind of expecting, okay, both about monarchs or whatever. And then The Crown is really well done. I will say that. I think. Becky?
It looks it.
I love The Crown. It's something that my husband and I can agree on. He enjoys the politics, and I just drew over the dresses. So it'll be like, ooh, this is interesting. I'll be like, the embroidery and the drape is so pretty.
Oh, that's so fun.
But then, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know a little bit more about Elizabeth II than Victoria. So, like, growing up, my Oma, my dad's mom, had a ton of, like, gossip magazines of the royal family. So, like, as a kid, they didn't have a whole lot of kid books there, so I'd sit and flip through those. So, I, like, have a better understanding of the family and what was all going on. So, like, the drama of it makes a lot more sense to me.
I see.
I realized how little I know about 20th century British history because of watching The Crown. I'd be like, John would be like, oh yeah, well this happened. This will probably be the next episode. I'm like, that didn't happen. I'm like, yeah. The only thing I really knew about it was when the Beatles performed for Princess Margaret. And I really hope that makes it into a future.
Of course, that's what you know.
That's all I know. I know the Beatles trivia.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. I bet they totally will be in there eventually.
I just want to see John Lennon tell the princess to rattle her jewelry. That's all I want. I just 2 seconds and I'll be happy.
You're good. You'll be totally good. Yes. Well, this has been lovely, ladies.
This has been delightful. Thank you for hosting.
Oh, yes. Thank you for joining. So we'll do this again soon, and we'll have a whole episode actually devoted to Victober.
Woo woo.
Yes.
The thing I don't get tired of talking about, but nobody in real life knows about.
I know. I feel like I'm constantly, people are like, oh, so what did you do this weekend? And I'll be like, well, I started my Victober TBR. Okay, well, TBR means like no one knows what I'm talking about.
And I keep telling people about your sweatshirt. They're like, "Oh, that's nice." I'm like, "You don't understand."
The internet understands, Kate.
The internet understands. And let me tell you, it was a main character in my announcement video you will see on Monday.
I'm so excited. Just so
Yes.
you know, I don't think I told you this. I sent a picture of it to Bethany to get her approval before sending it to you.
I love it. I love it.
And what you said about it was the exact same thing that she said about it. She's like, the font, the color, it's great. And then Kate
I was like,
gets it,
everything.
the font, the color, it's great. I'm like, these words sound very familiar.
Just come to me every time you have a gift for Kate, and I will advise you because clearly we'll have the same opinion about
We
it.
have very similar tastes.
And then I sent
Unless
like,
it's Great Expectations.
Yeah, no.
I sent 3 gifts just saying it's so beautiful.
May have been more than that.
Yes.
Becky's like, I counted 5 gifts, no less than 5.
Oh, maybe it was 5.
I don't remember. I could go back and look it up. I think it was more like 5 though.
That's how excited I was. Oh, so now I'm gonna go look at it now.
Okay. Well, on that note, thanks to all of those who joined us, and
Yes.
I look forward to doing this again.
Yay! Have a good weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.